Lose small and often, win seldom and big.
Hi everybody, I'm Duncan Kreeger. Welcome to DefenderCast. Finally, we get a chance to show you guys something slightly different. We are recording a podcast, both in sound and on video, and I'm incredibly excited to bring the next few guests to you. Please hold on to your seats and enjoy the ride. Just before I go, I don't get a chance to do this very often. Please make sure that you leave a little comment wherever you're watching or listening. Thumbs up would be really nice, and subscribe so that you are kept up to date with what we're up to. There is a mailing list which I will ask you to subscribe to for all tab things, and most importantly, don't forget to give me some feedback because I'd really appreciate it. We're back. Part 2 is going live now. Lee carries on talking about his businesses. Let us know what you think and how you'd like to get involved. Please comment, like and subscribe. Thank you. So out of those first 4 businesses we've discussed, which you started 2 and you bought 2. Although you bought...
No, there's 5 now.
Okay.
Because of safety services.
Yeah, fun.
And then we have...
Scaffolding
business. I started 2 years ago. Totally random. Left of centre field. I told the team to... At the time we were looking at buying businesses, and a lot of businesses that were coming up for sale were scaffolding businesses, and they wanted huge multiples. And so we started looking into that. We were going to invest in one, buy one, and then we worked out that actually...
You could spend the same amount of money.
Professionalise it, get a good brand going, because it's one of those industries that sort of hasn't evolved.
Yeah.
And now we've got a company. Yeah, there was a lot of mistakes at the start. We employed a lot of specialists, and I don't mean that in the positive way.
Yeah.
And they've gone by the wayside. So we lost a lot of money on wages. Scaffolders earn a lot of money. Most of them are on 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
It's just one of those well-paid industries, but it's not a professional industry. If you look, there's probably 5 or 6 big boys in the UK, and then everybody else is a ma and pa operation.
Yeah.
So we were just like, okay, let's get a good brand going. Then we started this guerrilla scaffolding brand. Everybody in Birmingham and the Messman sees that brand. We get so much business just from Yell and Google, just because people go on it, and rather than MHP scaffolding in Acox Green or whatever, they see guerrilla scaffolding, and we look like a huge outfit. Yes, we're not, and we are small and we are growing. But
yeah, I mean...
It's been great, and I've employed one of my closest pals on it who knew nothing about scaffolding, and ironically he's done better than the scaffolders that we employed at the start.
Yeah, because you need the guys on site being able to put the scaffolding up and down, but there's a hell of a lot more, like there is in any business, that needs to be done in order for the business to find new business, close new business, branding, marketing... social media, which maybe...
Once again, health and safety, again, is a big thing, and that's where a lot of the businesses we try and buy now or start now can be intertwined with others, and you can get economies of scale.
Yeah, so I was actually going to ask that, because there's a wide scale of stuff obviously going on, but in some way these businesses are connected. There's things that you can use, certainly with people like Rob, I know, pop up, and one day I'll be sitting in this business, next day I'll be on a plane with you to Ireland, and you'll be buying another business on a handshake. So scaffolding.
And then...
just quickly, what's the plan, the scaffolding plan? Is it run a long-term income? Are you seeing that as a business that could...
Yeah,
okay.
It's just turned profitable 4 months ago.
Yeah.
It's going to start paying the money back. Psychologically on that one, I want to get my money back just because of my relationship with my partner, who, a very, very close friend of mine, he's become a very close friend. Yeah. He's learning in business. He's green to it all. And he's got big shares in the company now because we want to incentivise him. But I very much feel like for us to be proper partners rather than him being very much a junior partner or working for me like he has done, I feel it's important that I get my money back so that he's not constantly getting his dividends and I'm thinking, well, I still haven't had my money back.
In this respect, I'm hearing you looking at this business exactly the same, whether you bought it and put X amount of cash in or whether you started it and put X amount of cash in. At some point, it's got to pay your capital back and then it's got to start producing income.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that paying the capital back is psychological.
Yeah, definitely.
Because let's say you invest, because I still do investments of 100,000, 150, 200,000 pounds. And even though I'd rather that money was working for me and making money, I think psychologically you want that money back. So in your head, you've got a clean slate. Like everything now is a bonus.
Yeah, there's either, I mean, at a certain point it's a return on your investment. Until you get your investment back, it's just a return. It's just a yield or an income. And that leads us into another thing that we'll discuss later on, which is, when you're property focused and property centric, you're always thinking about yields, return on investment. Yeah. When you invest in a company, you either buy. I'm talking about a proper trading company, a company you buy or a company you start. The return on investment just goes out the window. It goes to thousands and thousands and millions of percents. It just becomes an irrelevant figure. Yeah. So when I'm looking at businesses, I'm not looking at return on capital. I'm not looking at that at all. That goes out the window for me. That's let's make a fucking fortune. Yeah, but when I'm investing in property, then it's all about 8%. I mean, 5%, look, the big difference is risk. In my opinion, and I don't agree. Like you said to me that I made 300%, 3 times my money on the one business in 4 years, and I made 4 times my money on the other business in 3 years. Great. So once your money's back, it is like, surely you've then got to say, for the additional time and risk that it took me to invest in this startup, get my money back, and then calculate how much I made. It is a risk. It is a risk reward thing, and in properties, it is different, and we'll talk about property when we go to part 2 of this. I mean,
everything. I agree. Everything's risk reward. Yeah, and I've slightly contradicted myself because I've said, well, with the businesses, I don't really care, and then I've mentioned I got 3 or 4 times the money. That's because they wanted me out the businesses. Okay, and so at the end of the day, if I was a real hard-nosed businessman, they're cracking businesses. Yeah, both those recruitment businesses have been through the hard times. Yeah. They've learned, and they've come through, and now they're making decent dough. Yeah. And at this point, they want me out. Yeah. So somebody outside looking in would say, "You're making a big mistake here, leaving." Yeah. But actually, I want to be friendly with all those people. Yeah. When I look at it, those recruitment companies should be selling for £5 or £10 million in 5 or 10 years. Yeah. And then I would have got very well paid. Yeah. But they don't want me there. I don't want to be anywhere that somebody doesn't want me. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's good to have these conversations. It focuses your mind a little bit. And what I'm thinking on the kind of, when we have our discussions and I stick my nose in, what I'm thinking is there's probably a good medium between the two, which is I never go below 10%. So I want all my money back as quick as possible. I want you to be empowered to run your own business. But if I started or invest in this business, I'm never going to go down below 10%. Because like you said, Tom's business might be worth 25 million quid. It might be a long time, or it might never happen. Ironically, that's my first ever business partner who I sold the Ralph Lauren shit with.
Really?
I can't put him on.
No.
People are turning off. The bullshit level.
Are there other businesses for us to cover that you're in the throes of now?
Yeah, I mean, what else do I...
There's something...
There's a restaurant now, but...
Yeah. Well, it's a pizza restaurant. Go on, tell us a little bit.
So, very briefly, another guy worked for me for years. He actually was a rival promoter when we were like 18, 19 in town. Then he came and worked for me on the gold business. And then once again, he became a chef. He's a fantastic chef. And I said to him, I'll back you whenever you want backing. He then started a street food business and he won the European Street Food Awards. He was on GMTV, had loads of coverage.
We should go there for lunch, actually.
I think it's closed today.
Is it?
Yeah. We should have gone.
Another day. I thought you said it was closed on Mondays.
It is. I think it's open. It's open Tuesday nights.
Okay, cool.
And anyway, I said to him, I'll back him. He then had a lot of coverage, a lot of people saying, I'm going to back you. And fair play, really nice of him. He calls me up. I hadn't spoken to him for 6 months. He said, you were the first person that ever said you'd back me, so I'm going to go with you. Like this is the greatest opportunity ever type thing. And we did it. And it was an itch I wanted to scratch. But it was SEIS money. I wouldn't have invested under anything else. Yeah. It's a very comfortable amount of money, and the moment I wrote that check, I knew I was scratching the itch of owning a restaurant.
You actually described it to me at the time.
Everybody wants to own a restaurant, right? Somewhere nice to hang out. It's actually great for the kids. And hopefully, it's breaking even at the moment. It's been open a year. Hopefully it will go on. It's a fucking hard sector at the moment.
But this is not a business that you have any real drive to manage or to...
No, this is very much hands-off investment.
Hands-off.
Most of my investments...
Is there an argument to say if you didn't have anything else going on, could you? Maybe it's the wrong example, or maybe it isn't the wrong example. But we're going to open 5 over the next 3 years.
Yeah, so that's the plan anyway. But obviously, I'm not going to put the money in unless it's making money at that place. A lot of investments that I've made where I'm hands off or I'm a minor shareholder, so you're investing and you're getting 2-3%. I've got to take this one, Robert.
This is what having meetings with Lee is usually like, everybody. Right. We were talking about the pizza restaurant. No, we weren't. Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we're talking about the pizza restaurant. Anyway,
so you were saying a lot of these businesses where you've got a small share,
I've lost money on, so I could go through. I mean, and that's one of the things I'd like to talk about, whether it's now or later on. Is I've told you my mantra in business, and that
Tell us again. Yeah.
Lose small and often, win seldom and big. That has always been my mantra, and that is, we're talking about the businesses here that have made money.
Yeah.
I've had 30 that have lost money or broken even, or I've started and have gone nowhere. But
so what's the theme? What the you've already said to me. Go on. The key
is it's like when you're going to a club as a kid, right? If you're not a 10 out of 10, which neither I or you are, you need to try and go and pull 100 women for 5 to kiss you, for 7 to kiss you. It's a numbers game. And it's exactly like that in business.
Yeah. Got to kiss a lot of frogs.
You've got to kiss loads of frogs. But you're not going to get it right every time.
Is that why you walk around, and you have done for the last 15 years, saying, I'll back you, I'll back you, I'll back you? Because at the end of the day...
Yeah, but you get better at it, right?
Yeah.
You get better at assessing whether people are full of shit or not. And that's another thing we could talk about for an hour, which is the amount of bullshit in business. I call it Buller-Massey.
Yeah.
That's why I've set up a company called Buller-Massey XL that has bought another business and that now has £9 million in assets, and most of that is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Which goes on to another. We could talk about accounts and how accounts can be made to look good, and they're not, and the business is inherently shit, but the asset base looks good.
All right, so those two topics for next time are Buller-Massey, and you said we were going to talk about... I'll come back to it in a minute.
Ethics in business, people bullshitting.
Yeah.
Most people are full of shit.
Look, from my point of view, I genuinely feel this stuff is interesting. Like, for me specifically, and I get to spend a lot of time with you, I find it interesting, and it sort of gets the juices flowing, for want of a better word.
Yep.
But I'm sure there are lots of people out there like writing notes. I know you always say all 50 of them might be, but at some point I think you've done some teaching as well, and you went back to school, and we'll cover that one day another time. Let's just stay on the businesses for a minute. And the other thing was
bed business, right? Because that's a funny story.
Lose small and often,
win
big,
seldom
and big.
So exactly, you put, even if there's people out there without serious capital, they can. Do you know what I want to talk about later? I'm going to have a rant.
Okay.
And that's totally in the face of what you're doing at the moment, and that's raising money, and I don't know whether you're going to want to talk about
as
that
much
later.
As you want,
and,
as full, transparent as possible.
I'll rant about that later on.
Yeah.
But one of the things that people can do is invest small amounts. You can invest £1,000 here, £2,000 there, or whatever, or invest some of your time. When I say invest and lose often and small, when I say lose small, invest your time in it. If it's not going to work out, fuck off and do something else. Don't stick with that same thing that's not working. Definition of madness, right? Trying the same thing over and over again and not working. Move on to something else.
So what do you think about...
when you find that big thing, go for it full style. And do you know what the biggest thing is? Do you know what the biggest thing I always say is, and I was living by this quote anyway, and then I read it in Disneyland. I think Walt Disney said it. It was one of my idols, Walt Disney. And he's like, stop dreaming and start doing. There's so many years, you sit there and you think, I'm just going to try and think of an idea that nobody's thought of. We're not James Dyson. He's a brilliant man. Those people don't exist. Well, they do, but they're few and far between.
An inventor. But you're inventing things out of opportunity.
Well, correct. So you go out to the nightclub and you try and start kissing. And then when eventually you do kiss, you then work out a new way, and then you move on to anal and so on and so forth. You go way further, don't you? But it's how that progresses. But if you're not in there in the mix, you don't see these ideas.
I couldn't agree more. But I think
no point sitting in your fucking living room thinking of shit. It's never going to happen.
I mean, investing like the way that you do with little bit of capital, you've earned the right to do that, and to kind of spread yourself across with having the right people around you. It takes time, but the answer is your first deal, going back to the beginning, was an opportune moment where somebody mentioned to you, because you were the type of guy who was prepared to invest your time and make some phone calls and call Mr. Abramson, who you'd never known before, but you knew he might be the right person through someone else that had come to the club. And that is, I completely agree. You got to kind of give yourself the opportunity to win, the way I look at it. And sitting in your room having a good idea. Everybody I know has had a good idea.
Yeah.
Everyone's had a good idea. Some people have had the same idea that has gone on to become an unbelievable business. And those people might have not had any money, but had the ability to take that idea to the next level. And someone was asking me the other day about, what should I be doing more of? And we were just talking about the things that had been working so far. And she's a GP and she's going to come onto the podcast as well. And I was like, you don't need money at this point to do a lot more of the things you're doing. You just need to take 2 more hours of your day. I know you might be tired. I know you might have a lot going on, but could you be doing more? Could you be researching online to see who's doing what? Could you be understanding how to read company accounts on a simple YouTube video and then looking into these businesses in more detail? Do you know people you can pick up the phone to, ask questions? The answer is yes to all of those things. And to me, it's just actually some people enjoy more like talking about the negatives and why they can't do it, whereas people like you and I were like, well, we're just going to do it.
I totally agree. In the 80s, when our parents were in business, a lot of our parents were in business, okay? And a lot of them did very well. The economy was very good when Thatcher was in and so on and so forth. That's a whole separate conversation again. A lot of people did very well. And the old school way of business was you went and worked in a job, you did well at that job, and then you just went out and did that on your own.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I feel that things have moved so far that there's a whole market out there of entrepreneurs, and they call themselves entrepreneurs, but they're not fucking entrepreneurs. All they do is raise money. They don't actually know what they're raising money for. Yeah. They're just, we're raising it. We're on a raise. And then they fail because they're trying to be the next Facebook. And I've invested in quite a few of these people, and I've lost money with every single one of these people. And I've tracked all the businesses that have come to me for investment for the past 6 or 7 years, and one has made a fortune that I missed out on, and I shouldn't have missed out on him, of course. One has made a fortune. Every other business, and I'm talking hundreds, have fallen by the wayside. So I'd like to see people going out there, doing something, whatever it is, like the GP, go and be that GP. Yeah. And then, do you know what? Go and borrow the money, save enough money, don't spend it down the pub. Yeah. Go and save enough money to buy your first GP practice. Yeah. So you buy that GP practice you're in, or go and buy another one. Yeah. And then when you've done that, go and employ some more GPs that work under you, and go and buy another one.
And you have to obviously obtain other skills, but my thing is, there are other GPs doing that. So there's nothing to, it's not like,
it's not rocket science,
like dentist practice. I mean, your brother's a dentist. There are some dentists who will go to work every day and they will, moan about their back pain, and, they'll do their job 9 to 5. And there are others who will do it differently. And the guy who, saying it's all right for him because he's got 5 dentist practices, those are the people that could do it themselves if they wanted to. If they really, really wanted to, they could do it themselves.
Exactly.
Any other businesses we haven't covered?
Well, the bed one's a funny
story. Tell us the bed story.
You like the bed story.
I love the bed story.
So,
speaking to the mic. So, move your chair forward. Oh, yeah, you're right.
About 14 weeks ago, my daughter said she wanted a princess bed. So, I looked online, I found a company straight away, and it was a lot of money. So, I called my old man and said, why don't you buy your granddaughter a bed? And of course, he went for it straight away. Anyway, I was waiting on the bed. I emailed them, they said it'll be here next week. Emailed them again, it'll be here next week. After about 16 weeks, something wasn't right. So I emailed them again and said, listen, I'm going to cancel my bed. I want my money back. I wasn't going to. I was just trying to force them to drop off the bed. They then said, oh, we will. You're due in next week. Didn't turn up the next week. I then get an email from the company one Monday afternoon saying, we've gone out of business. You've lost your money.
Can see your face at that point.
At that point, I exploded, and I totally exploded. Wrote to him and just said, "You're a fucking fraudster. When you set up next week, because you're going to do a Phoenix. When you set up next week, I'm going to chase you down and I'm going to come after you and I'm going to sue you. I then get an email straight back saying, I'm not a fraudster. This has happened. I didn't know what I was doing. I was running this business. And then I email straight back, how can you have gone out of business? You get the money up front for these beds. They're made of MDF. You're charging me $3,000 for a bed. Yeah. I don't know what your material costs are. I'm guessing 200, 300 quid. I'm guessing your margin's 50%.
So you had this conversation with him?
Over email.
Yeah.
I then said to him straight away, call me immediately. Fair play to the guy. He called me immediately. And I then realised within 3 minutes that the guy didn't have a clue about business. And then I said, yeah, but how many beds do you sell? Because I was thinking, and he turned around and he went, we turn over 1.6 million and we sell 50 beds a week. At which point I turned around to him and said, I'll be in Belfast tomorrow. I'm coming to buy your company and save your arse. And I flew to Belfast with Rob the next day, and we realised this guy was in major trouble. He'd put up PGs and so on and so forth. Him and his wife were going to go bankrupt. And we bought the rights to the company, the designs, the Facebook following, which got 620,000 followers, which is what you subscribe to rather. And that was it. We bought the company in a day. The legals were sent there. He didn't even have a lawyer. So once again, I was trying to do a fair deal. I don't want to go into the exact details of the deal because it's still a bit raw for certain customers. But
apart from the fact that Brooke wanted her bed and you wanted to make sure that was going to happen, there was obviously some, you started connecting the dots, and then you were like, there's a business here. And what is it about the next level of you not wanting to leave without, doing a deal and making that a business rather than just saying, you know what, I've got 9 other businesses on the go. We don't know anything about making beds. But you were looking at the cost to make them versus the cost of selling them and thinking there's a business here.
Yeah. So I'm just going to backtrack slightly.
Yeah.
I always say this to you. Conscious competence, unconscious incompetence, and so on and so forth. I know what I'm really bad at. I'm not going to go and start buying beds. I'm bad at most things. I just stick to what I'm good at. I don't run any of my companies. I let people that can run companies run the companies. As soon as we went to that business over in Belfast, it was 2 hours west of Belfast. It was very obvious that there were some serious synergies, economies of scale that we could do. We have a humongous factory, which is another business we're talking about later date. We have 220,000 square feet of factory, 50,000 of which is sitting there doing nothing. I could move that business into 5,000 out of 50,000. So I'm getting rid of the rent, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, most of their sales were in mainland England, most around where you boys live. Yeah. Sorry. That's where people can afford those beds.
$3,000 beds.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Or they start at $1,000, but yeah, their delivery costs were absolutely hammering their margin. That's basic.
Yeah.
Your customers all in England. You need to be in England.
Yeah, those are. Yeah, I mean, they've also built his mini version of Disneyland in a field 2 hours east of Belfast.
He spent $200,000 of people's money on building a showroom in a town. So with 2,000 people.
So you bought the business.
I didn't buy I bought the rights to the business.
So you didn't want to.
Still 400 customers, like myself, that have paid for a bed and haven't got it.
Yeah.
Now 90% of those people will get their money back because they're paid by credit card or PayPal. 10% won't. Now we are going to make their beds for free, but we don't want to announce that yet because otherwise the other 400 won't bother getting their money back from PayPal.
Fair enough.
So we're trying to do the right thing, ethically the right thing, rather than telling everybody to fuck off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't want to throw ourselves under the bus and have to make 400 beds.
So when was this?
5 weeks ago.
And what's happened in the 5 weeks between then and now?
Within 10 days, we were up manufacturing. We'd taken the team from Ireland. We fly them over every week at the moment. We've started recruiting in the UK to replace them because obviously long term that's not
viable.
That's not viable. And then eventually they'll transition over in the next few months. And then we'll really ramp up the marketing again.
What's the bit that excites you about, because it's obviously a lot to do from that minute where you shake hands and say, right, we got a deal. Then are you is that the
team,
high,
haven't I? I've got a great team around me, so I'll
is that the high point of doing the deal? like, because I called you for a catch up, and you were like, "I've got to tell you about my day. I've just landed back in Brum."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." So we talked the whole way home. You were like on fire. Like, you've got to hear this story. It's the best thing that's ever happened. We've done the deal, closed it in a day, and I'm on my way home. I bought a bed company, and we're about to start setting it up. What's the bit that you love about it? Like,
I mean,
it's a small deal.
I knew it'd be
it's
hilarious
a lot
to talk about it later, right? You were giggling, and I knew later on people would be like, "Oh, what a fucking joker!"
Yeah,
but
you're not doing it for the story. You're doing it for, or do you just get bored and think,
"No,
fuck it"?
There is a great business there.
Yeah,
there are so many fundamentals. This guy's his designs are incredible.
Yeah,
he started it in his shed. It grew too big too quickly. He didn't know what he was doing at all. He's now personally got some of the stuff he signed up to was just absurd. Allied Irish Bank, that's another conversation bank, but we won't go there now. Lent him the money. Somebody came up with an idea. I know. I'll lend you 100 grand to start building Disneyland in the middle of fucking nowhere, and you can personally guarantee it, even though you don't own a house, you don't own anything else. Between the banker and him, just some astonishingly bad decisions.
Yeah.
And for us, it's a great business. Like, nobody owes us any money.
I'm really interested in, like, the skills that are transferable across any business. Like, you can go into business that somebody's run for 15 years, and you can say within an hour, this is fucking stupid, this is fucking stupid, this is fucking stupid, fix a few things, and all of a sudden, especially when there's 50 orders a week.
Yes, well,
and the 1.6 million pounds coming in. A lot of what you got to do is just stop make the hole in the bucket at the bottom as small as possible.
Hardest part of any business, sales.
Yeah.
If a business hasn't got sales, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
And it's not like we can go into a business and just click our fingers and get sales. That's the hardest part. When a business already has those sales, especially something online like that.
Yeah.
The easy part is cutting out the shit, cutting out the costs, so it becomes profitable.
Well, I think would be a good regular segment for us is pitch us, because you still obviously like investing in investing in businesses, whether they're new startups, probably less so for you now.
Less so startups,
you but also existing businesses. You've also got more of a thing now for businesses that are you can be bought cheaper because they're not doing very well.
That's another thing to
but certainly I think it'd be interesting for us to have once a month we get 2 or 3 people to come and pitch us, and then we'll look at the business from all different angles and try and chop it up and see what we can do. Any other businesses at the moment? I think we've covered a lot. There's a big business you bought not very long ago, which is going through a major reform, and timing's just not ideal to discuss it today or to release it today, but in the next couple of weeks it definitely will be. It's also extremely interesting. It's quite different from what you've done before on many levels. And I think we will we'll cover that separately. We were going to keep it to 2 parts. This part I think is interesting enough as how long have we been going? So we've been going an hour. And we haven't even started really getting to know. There's a list of things we want to discuss, but I think this was all about, for me, setting the scene, introducing Lee to the podcast, both introducing Lee to the audience, or the growing audience, hopefully, but also introducing the audience.
Fucking grow now, DK.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Look, at the end of the day, it's extremely interesting. People don't. I'm fortunate that I get a chance to, offload all my shit on you and also and listen to all this stuff regularly, but a lot of people that you're talking about that are sitting in their room and they've got this idea, they don't have the same network for whatever reason. Until now they don't have the network, and so therefore, and when we were young we didn't have YouTube to watch for these sort of things, and what part of my bugbear about this is you now do have access to people that are taking time out of our day. This isn't earning us a penny. In fact, it's costing me money to do this. And I'm doing it because I feel that there's an opportunity to share this with everybody. And I really appreciate you having us at your home. And I think it's interesting.
Can I go back to one point?
I
just want to go back to one. You said you can go into businesses and see problems and they've been doing it for 15 years. Sometimes you can't see the wood through the trees. And I'm just as bad as everybody else. People could come into any one of my businesses and see major foibles in that business and major issues that I can't see, even though I think I'm quite good with business. case in example, you have come into our bridging loan company and absolutely destroyed everything we did on that one day. And we're sitting there like a bunch of school kids without a clue. And all of a sudden we realise we don't know that much.
Yeah.
And you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You never know everything. And I think it's, whilst I'm not a big, huge fan of consultants per se, I think if you've got friends around you, especially like we do, we bounce off each other. It's so good to have people that are just there challenging
Definitely.
you and just showing you stuff that's so obvious. Sometimes the most obvious stuff's right in front of you and you don't see it.
Yeah.